People. I am not even sure where I need to start today.
Not resting, and neither can we. Neither can we. Soft Christians are handing this country to the enemy one comfortable Sunday at a time. They are sitting in pews saying amen. In fact, maybe you're not even going to church. Maybe you're just a solid Christian who has the values and beliefs, but you don't go to the building. But there you are, home and scrolling and staying quiet and acting like silence is somehow neutral. It is not neutral. It's never been neutral. Silence in the face of evil is a clear, valid choice. It's a choice, and a choice has consequences. And if you don't understand that yet, today's show is going to be your wake up call. And I'm going to start with something I think that explains a lot of something I see that's very broken in the church right now, because the problem is not just political, the problem is spiritual. And it's rooted in something that's been happening in Christian spaces for decades that we haven't had the courage to talk about and call out directly. We put human beings in a throne. Pastors, leaders, influencers, movements, organizations, we elevate people to a place that was never designed for people. And when these people failed, when they compromised, when they softened their message to keep the room comfortable, when they chose their platform over their calling, the people who had built their faith around those people had nowhere to stand. I got tagged twice this week in a TPUSA scandal, and the one of my friends is genuinely horrified, and yes, she's in the mix of the TPUSA, the Erica Kirk, the what's the other lady's name? I'm not in it. I don't follow any of that. That it just I had this discernment to ignore all of it. Um, and this is the thing. I followed Charlie Kirk. I didn't follow his company or the people in it, just the man with his values and beliefs. And I'll start with that fact that there are real documented TPUSA controversies, and then there are newer accusations floating around online that have not been proven. Um, so I'm not talking about the same thing here because I didn't go down the rabbit hole of proving the stuff. But some of the biggest documented controversies include the allegations from former employees of like racial discrimination and hostile workplace, former National Field Director Crystal Clanton's infamous alleged racist texts, and the subsequent dispute years later over whether she actually authored them. Who knows about that? Accusations that TPUSA crossed or blurred nonprofit political activity lines, its efforts to influence campus student government elections, the professor watch list. Critics argued and encouraged harassment and intimidation of professors, questions and criticism surrounding executive compensation, luxury spending, and financial priorities, and Turning Point Action's involvement in transporting people to Washington for the rally on January 6th, including Charlie Kirk's deleted claim about 80 plus buses, although the organization later said the real number was 7, and it condemned the false Capitol violence, but they condemned it for the sake of social media. There's been controversy surrounding Kirk's own rhetoric. You know, that's been a thing. People misunderstand genuinely who he is or where he's coming from. It's anyone who has common sense when it comes to race or immigration or the alphabet issues, the Civil Rights Act, the 2020 election, like all of these very public fights inside the broader conservative movement. There was a bunch of issues about Israel, anti-Semitism personalities, and the direction of the movement Charlie was against, and I get that. Um, but also there were issues of like financial accusations and accusations of inappropriate behavior. Treasury officials, I guess, told Erica Kirk that they were not under Treasury investigation and that available findings contradicted fraud, blah, blah, blah. But your bigger point isn't TPUSA never screwed up. Okay? Like, I don't know their business. I truly don't care. This is where you guys lose me. Like, you could give me the scandals, you could give them all of them. Give me every shitty employee, every bad decision, every person who said something disgusting, every questionable financial decision, every controversy, every person who embarrassed the organization, and every leader who got something wrong. And you know what you're going to prove to me? that human beings were involved. Do I think that takes away from Charlie Kirk's character and his legacy? No. Not to anybody with sense. People expect any organization, corporation, business, ministry, church, or political movement that talks about Christ to be somehow perfect. Why? Where exactly did Jesus promise that everybody sitting in a church pew working for a Christian organization or putting a Bible verse in their bio suddenly stops being a sinner? Sin is going to be everywhere human beings are. You guys understand that. Church does not block that. Saying you're Christian doesn't block that. Working for a Christian organization doesn't block that. Wearing a cross around your neck doesn't block that. Walking beside Jesus himself didn't stop Judas from betraying him. And that does not mean we excuse evil. Absolutely not. That is why I have this show, because we're called to expose it, to confront it, to fire people when necessary, prosecute crimes when crimes happen. Big Catholic priest scandals, they're still happening. Demand the accountability. Call the hypocrisy exactly what it is. But please, you guys, when you hear about a pastor cheating on his family or murdering his wife or doing any of this stuff, it makes me wonder, like, why are we putting people so high up? Why? You're going to be disappointed. Stop confusing the failure of human beings with the failure of Christ. And the fact you use this to say it hinders your relationship with Christ, that's crazy to me. Because if I were the devil, the first people I'd be going for are the people in the church pews. That's who I would want to be doing my work. And the fact that people seem even more outraged when somebody associated with Christianity screws up, it tells me something else. Somewhere along the way, people started expecting Christians to be Christ instead of people desperately in need of Christ. Y'all, we're desperately in need of Christ. That is the entire gospel. Jesus didn't come because humans had everything together. He came because we don't. So if your entire faith collapses because somebody at TPUSA turns out to be a terrible person, or a pastor cheats, somebody at a church steals money, or a Christian politician lies, or somebody wearing a cross behaves like a complete idiot, or someone who has a political podcast and talks about Christ, she cusses. If that's it for you, then respectfully, your faith is never planted deeply enough in Jesus. It was planted in people. And I'm going to give you some really tough news right now. I hope you're sitting down. People will disappoint the hell out of you every single time. Christ won't. Accountability matters, truth matters, character matters, and Christians should absolutely be held accountable when we behave contrary to what we claim to believe. But Christianity does not stand or fall on TPUSA. It doesn't stand or fall on the Charlie Kirks of the world. It doesn't stand or fall on a pastor. It doesn't stand or fall on a political party. It doesn't even stand or fall on the church building you walk into. It stands on Christ. Stop putting human beings on a throne they were never qualified to sit on and then acting shocked when they fall off of it. Your faith belongs in Christ. Everybody else is human. That, honestly, I'm not going to defend people who are not worth defending. And this is kind of the foundation of everything everything I want to talk about today, because when you take God off the throne, you put a person there, you get exactly what we have right now, a church that's afraid of culture, a church that's more worried about its reputation than its responsibility, or like a church that is more invested in not offending anyone than telling the truth that actually costs them something. The Bible never promised the comfort, it promised a sword. Do not think I came to bring peace on earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. That sword is truth, and the soft church has put the sword down. Oh, and Michigan, Michigan, Michigan. I need my Michigan listeners. If you are listening and you're from Michigan, if you know someone in Michigan, I need you to share this, because we have to talk about Michigan, y'all. Um what is happening in our state is going to affect our everyday life. Um, Abdul, Abdul Said, what's his name? Said, yes, that's the guy. Let me just pull this up here. I should have had it ready because I knew I was going to kind of talk about him a little bit. But I mean, we're just handing Michigan over to the Muslim Brotherhood. And these are the guys that say death to America. Like, they say it proudly, they say it freely. You could find a lot of videos, a ton of videos of these guys and acquaintances, even acquaintances of this guy, who are linked to the Brotherhood. And people voted for him. It's terrifying. It is terrifying. Um, on top of the fact that he is connected to the Muslim Brotherhood, that someone he stood on stage with and shook hands with is someone who said that America deserved 9/11. I don't know if you guys remember what happened on 9/11. However, the truth came out, or however we got there, it really did bring Americans together on a certain level. Um, the guy said we deserve that. And that's crazy to me. Like, it is literally crazy to me that everyone's just accepting this. And on top of that, I found this fancy thing about this Abdul Said. He oversaw Detroit's animal shelter when it operated with a 74% kill rate with conditions that whistleblowers described as a slaughterhouse, including feces and urine backing up into kennels, plus rats and cockroaches. Um, the city paid $63,000 to settle a related lawsuit, while his health department is watching over the operation. The high kill rate and horrid conditions are well documented. um, in statements made by whistleblowers. Drains were clogged, so feces and urine flooded kennels, contaminated food on the floor. The shelter was infested. Dogs were confined in undersized cages without exercise ever. Animals were neglected until they died rather than properly euthanized. Staff failed to scan microchips to reunite pets with owners. They just called it a slaughterhouse. There's photos and accounts that describe dogs left in blood and vomit and waste. Wow. So I feel like how humans treat animals says a lot about who they are as people. And that kind of says a lot. And he's going to treat us no different than he treated the dogs. And I don't know if you've done any research on the religion or the Muslim Brotherhood, or I don't know if you've really done a deep dive on that. And I could do a whole episode on that if you feel like you maybe need some history on that. You guys can let me know. I could do a deep dive because Sharia law is not a joke. On top of that, we've got Jocelyn Benson running for governor. And if you don't fully understand what that means for the state, a vote for a third party or sitting this November election out is a vote for Jocelyn Benson. That's what's going to happen. If she becomes the next governor, we will not climb out of the downward spiral that wretched Gretchen Whitmer has locked us into. Michigan will keep ranking near the bottom in education and taxes and quality of life and jobs and housing affordability. Those are facts. That is the record. Harder for hardworking Michiganders. Okay. Benson embraces everything Governor Whitmer has done for the last 8 years. And if you need me to refresh your memory, Michigan ranks 46th in the states overall. 1 in 3 road miles still need major work. Um, this one is very close to home for me. Fourth grade reading proficiency at 24%, near the bottom nationally, despite the high rise in spending on education. Michigan is the 5th highest unemployment rate in the country. 1.8 billion in Whitmer's biggest subsidy deals delivered only 602 jobs. That's $3 million per job. 3,327 ghost employees cut from a 2026 budget. 1.6 million households. That's 40% of Michigan families cannot afford the basics. We are the 11th highest violent crime rate, 21% above the national average. Up to 6,000 college graduates leave the state every single year. 27,000 plus manufacturing jobs lost since 2019. That is the third worst in the entire nation. Gas tax, can we talk about how that doubled from 26 cents to 52 cents per gallon? Property taxes up 22% after inflation. And you guys, that's still climbing. That is still climbing. This is Gretchen, and everyone's like, President Trump. No, it's voting for a blue state. If you love Michigan and you want it thriving again instead of slowly being destroyed, the choice is very clear. You guys have to say no to Jocelyn Benson. She is a Gretch 2.0. And voting for the middleman is going to be a vote for her. It's going to fall back on her. I need you to take that seriously. So, this is the thing. Say yes to John James for governor. Yes to Doug Lloyd for attorney general. Yes to Anthony G. Forlini for secretary of state. Yes to Mike Rogers for the Senate. This is why a vote like my life depends on it. We are a single income household. At the state level, this does matter for us. You guys, I told you, gas is $1 cheaper across the border in Indiana right now. That is not a presidential issue. That's a blue state policy. It's the direct result of who sits in the state offices that Michigan voters choose. And if Benson wins the government, she wins. Michigan doesn't get better. Michigan gets the next version of the same thing that's been happening to the state for years, while everybody stays home in November because they're exhausted or they think their vote doesn't count or it's not the presidential election. It doesn't matter. That's the last election you need to be worried about right now. I'm exhausted too, babe. And I still went to I went to vote and I'm still going to go to vote and so should you. In Massachusetts. Oh, the abortion conversation that never goes away because it's just never been resolved. It's never actually resolved. It's just suppressed. It's like a different century, a different altar, but it's the same evil. If you guys didn't know, Massachusetts just signed off on full-term abortion, and women were cheering around the desk of her signing this little thing. Pure demons. That's all I could see. You can't have a soul if you're going to laugh and clap and cheer for the fact we said, hey, let's kill full-term babies. The Bible warned us what happens when a culture gets comfortable with innocent blood. Child sacrifice didn't start in 2026. Humanity has been dressing up evil and calling it good for thousands of years. But today we just give a little cleaner language, some better PR, and a lot of government protection. You can lie to yourself and call it healthcare. It's murder. It's the destruction of innocent human life. And Christians, silence is complicity. Stop being so terrified of offending people. And this is the thing. Some of you Christians have come to me and you said, hey, it's the rape and it's the whatever. 0.6% of every abortion goes to an issue of rape or incest or health. 0.6%. The rest of it's birth control. So save me your virtue signaling, okay? Silence is complicity. Stop being so terrified of offending people that you refuse to stand for what is true. We were never called to blend in with the culture. We were called to be light in the darkness. These baby killers have a vote, but so do you. So no more silent complicity, no more soft Christianity. Protect the babies, speak the truth. Speak the truth. They're calling it healthcare. A body count is a body count. And I've said this before, and I'm going to keep saying it until something changes. You know what a baby is until you want to kill one. And the same people who recognize a baby born to an illegal immigrant as a citizen, the same people who would demand an investigation if a baby animal was harmed on a farm, look at an unborn child and say that's not a person. The moral inconsistency is not accidental. It is designed. It is a framework built specifically to make one category of human life disposable so that it can be disposed of without social consequences. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil. We are living in it. And on the flip side of everything I just said, I do want to give credit where it's due. Hands up for our president. He just announced that the childhood immunization schedule is reduced from 72 injections to 11. And he demands that they're spaced out appropriately. Yeah, I'm still an anti-vaxxer, and I'm going to stay an anti-vaxxer. That position doesn't change. But for the moms who haven't gone down that rabbit hole yet, who are just now starting to ask questions, who are navigating this for the first time, this is genuinely good news. Fewer injections, more space between them, children protected from a schedule that was never designed with their individual health in mind. Babies were dying. autism skyrockets. A lot of things were happening. So thank you, Mr. President. The babies who grew up with a lighter load than the generation before them, their moms may never know what was changed on their behalf, but it was changed, and that really matters. So thank you for that. I'm gonna talk a little bit about this one. Really, it's bothering me. It's bothering me because you never know who you work with, right? Like you just don't know who you're working with. I'm gonna tell you about a man who died over a drink. He's dead because of a decision that should have never ended in death. And my comment section never disappoints. Um, According to police, 53-year-old Frederick Layton walked away from an argument and went back to work. His 23-year-old coworker allegedly followed him, came up behind him, and shot him multiple times in the back over a drink. We keep watching human life become cheaper while rage and pride and zero self control become normal. The Bible literally warns us about this. Uncontrolled anger will destroy you. Pride will convince you that being disrespectful is worse than destroying another human being, or being disrespected is worse. And when you let that rage control you instead of controlling your rage, innocent people are going to pay the price. And I'm always going to say politics matter every time, but I also understand this is bigger than politics. This is spiritual. Murder doesn't magically begin when someone pulls a trigger. It starts way before that. It starts in the heart with the hatred, the bitterness, the pride, the resentment, and anger that somebody keeps feeding instead of dealing with. And you guys know evil doesn't show up looking like the demons in the movies. It looks like one stupid argument that escalates because somebody decides their feelings and ego matter more than another person's life. There's a whole culture of that. Now a man is dead and a family has to bury someone they love, and another man's life, I mean, gone, destroyed too, essentially. We need Jesus. We need accountability. We need self control. We need solid family homes again. And we desperately need to remember that human life is sacred. I feel like if we had public executions for murder, it's a genuine question. Do you think these people would think twice about what they do? There's no consequence now. How many violent offenders or murderers have gotten out time and time again, or do a little bit of time and they're out? I don't think there's really consequences. We've got another man arrested for attempted rape at Georgia Park. He has 22 arrests since 2020. A lot of those say 8 times. That's happened in 2026 alone. I verified 4 of those, and I also verified he was just released from jail 17 days ago. I posted a picture of the judge who let him go. Liberal judge let him go. And this is the thing. We hold bartenders accountable when they knowingly overserve somebody who walks out of a bar, gets behind a wheel, and hurts an innocent person. So somebody explained to me why the people sitting behind a bench making decisions that can put repeat offenders right back on our streets are somehow supposed to be above accountability. If somebody has a documented revolving door of arrests and keeps getting released, the public deserves to know exactly who made each release decision, what the charges were, what the law allowed the judge to do, and why that decision was made. Judges have enormous power, and enormous power should come with enormous accountability. And I mean, judges can be held accountable. Georgia has a judicial qualification commission that investigates judicial misconduct and can pursue discipline or removal. Citizens have to start paying attention to these judicial elections and to court records and to bond decisions and the names on the bench. Stop screaming about crime only after somebody gets hurt. Follow the paper trail before the next victim exists. We shouldn't have to live like this. Accountability shouldn't magically stop at the courtroom door. Again, it's vote like it matters and demand answers from the system and the government, because silence is complicity. And it's crazy because if you guys saw my comments um on my posts on Facebook, I see these cases, the ones I'm talking about, the perpetrator's black, I call it out. I'm going to call it out every single time. And it's not because I think black people are more prone to violence, not because I'm feeding a racist narrative, but because Black Lives Matter has built an entire industry on the premise that they're the ones protecting black lives. And the crime statistics in the comment sections and the GoFundMe trackers tell a completely different story. But here's what else I need you to hear, because I'm consistent, and my whole consistency is the point of this. When a pedophile case crosses my desk and the perpetrator's white, most of them are, I want the exact same public reckoning. I want the same outrage. I want the same call for consequence. I want the same accountability without the asterisk. I want the same death by public accountability that I want for every other predator, regardless of what they look like. Most of the stories I share, what's happening? It's a lot of black people committing crime. I'm not selectively searching that. Siri, find every black guy who's ever committed a crime. I would never get away from my computer. Same way I wouldn't get away from my computer if I'm searching every white guy who is a pedophile. I wouldn't leave my computer. Crime doesn't have a skin color. The victim of a crime does not have a skin color that makes the crime more or less worth caring about. The color of the perp doesn't determine whether what they did was wrong. That will be my consistent position. And it's the honest position. And the reason more people won't say it is because it costs something to say it. It costs them followers, it costs them relationships, it costs them social safety of staying in one lane and never crossing into the territory where both sides are looking at you sideways. I get that. I am on attack from both sides. Guess what? I don't care about social safety. I care about the truth. And what's the truth? What happened in Chicago in the past few days? 23 people shot and wounded. 3 are dead since Thursday. Black on black crime in a city where the gun violence epidemic has become so normalized that the weekly death count gets a website. You guys, it's got a website with auto updates. Nobody's calling that a crisis. This is what makes me mad. There's no protests, no marches, no national coverage, no celebrities flying in with checks, no GoFundMe. Some lady in my comments said, yeah, because the celebrities don't know about it. You're telling me nobody knows that Chicago's like a murder capital of the world? Give me a break. It's because the machine, it can't monetize it. There's no white face in the story. There's no manufactured racism. There's no product to sell. So 23 wounded, 3 dead just becomes a number on a website, while the same organizations that say they stand for this say absolutely nothing. Things like Black Lives Matter, and they're not the only company, okay? They're using you. The media is using you. The narrative that has been built around race in this country is designed to keep you divided and reactive and just unable to see the people who are actually profiting from your division. And the black community is bearing the cost of that more than anyone, because the community that needs its own institutions to be honest with it has been handed institutions that are fundamentally lying. I'm going to call out crime every time regardless, and I'm going to call for the same things. I don't care what color you are. If you kill someone, you shouldn't be breathing air, and your death should be public. If you hurt a child, I don't care what color your skin is, you should not be breathing air. You should not be breathing air. And that brings me to another story. December 13th, 2021. Christy Seipel handed her baby to a man named Jeremy Williams. He took this baby to an abandoned house, forced meth into her, raped her, filmed it, and strangled her to death. And the mother called her in missing like she was a victim. She was not a victim. She's the reason the baby was there. So this baby dies on August. This baby's dead. This demon Williams, he is dying on August 13th. That's my baby's birthday, by the way. What a tainted idea. What a tainted thought. Lethal injection. He confessed and asked for it. Fine. That's between him, and he's about to face God. They can deal with that. My question is simple. He's black, demanded his own front of the line execution. Cool. The mom is white. And I'm pissed because she's still breathing. She got 20 years. That's it. She carried this baby in her body. She was the one person God assigned to protect her, and she opened the door and sold her for drug money. She is just as guilty. In fact, I think she's worse. The Bible says whoever harms one of these little ones, it would be better for him to have a millstone hung around his neck and be drowned in the sea. That is the Prince of Peace, and Romans 13 says the government doesn't carry the sword for nothing. Bring back capital punishment. Not years of appeals. Bring back the asylums. And make it public. Make it public. And the white mother in that case should have gotten the death penalty too. I said it, I meant it. Crime is crime, consequence is consequence. And my call for equal accountability is exactly that, equal across every race, every background, every circumstance. You commit the crime, you face the consequence. You have a culture that's acting insane, call out the culture insanity. That's the only standard that's actually fair. Everything else is a double standard. Soft Christians and silent votes are the reason we're here. That's just a factual diagnosis. The people who know the truth and sit on it, the people who agree in their living room but never say it out loud, the people who share the right post privately but would never comment publicly, the people who show up to the church but never show up to the school board, the people who say they stand for God's truth and they cannot name their state representative. Your silence is not neutral. Ezekiel 33 says it clearly. If the watchman sees the sword coming and does not blow the trumpet, and the people are not warned, and someone is taken away, that person's blood is on the watchman's hands. Because the watchman saw, the watchman knew, the watchman said nothing. The blood is on the watchman's hands. I'm not going to have blood on my hands. I am not going to stand before God and explain that I knew what was happening and I decided my comfort. I was scared of what everybody would say to me on the internet. They're so mean. I'm not going to tell him that that was worth more than my silence. I'm asking you today to make the same decision. And maybe for you, that means sharing a post that you've been too scared to put your name on. Do it. Maybe that means commenting on something you actually agree with in public so people who feel alone in what they believe know they're not alone. Do it. Maybe that means showing up to the next local meeting and being the person in the room who asks the questions that nobody will ask. Do it. Maybe that means starting your own podcast. I did it. It's not that complicated. I'll help you start for free. Maybe that means volunteering for a campaign you actually believe in instead of just complaining about the candidate. Do it. United we stand, divided we fall, and we've been falling deliberately, systematically, by design. The division is the product, the outrage is the product, the exhaustion is the product, and the useful idiots on both sides keep buying it. Stop buying it, start building something instead. Have I told you guys the story of Deborah? Israel, been under military oppression for 20 years. Sisera, the commander of the Canaanite army, has 900 iron chariots. The Israelites are hiding. The men of Israel are doing nothing. Nobody's leading. Nobody's standing up. 20 years of this. And we have Deborah. She's a prophet, but she's also a judge, meaning she's literally the governing authority over Israel. She holds court under a palm tree between Ramah and Bethel, and the people come to her for judgment. She's the one making decisions for a nation of people who have not been able to produce a man willing to lead them. She calls a military commander named Barak. She delivers a word from God. Go. Take 10,000 troops to Mount Tabor. God will draw Sisera to the Kishon River and give him into your hand. And Barak says this. He says, if you go with me, I will go. But if you don't go with me, I won't go. A man called by God to lead an army looked at the woman sitting under a palm tree and said, I'm not going unless you come with me. So Deborah wins. She's like, fine, I'll go. But understand, because of how you handled this, the honor of the victory is not going to you. The Lord is going to hand Sisera over to a woman. So they went to battle. God threw Sisera's entire army into a panic, and every single soldier was cut down by the sword, and Sisera fled on foot. He ran to the tent of a woman named Jael, whose husband was on the friendly terms with the Canaanite king. She came out and invites him in. She gives him milk. She covers him with a blanket. He fell asleep exhausted from the battle. She took a tent peg and a hammer, and she drove the tent peg through Sisera's temple while he slept, and he died. The general of the army that had terrorized Israel for 20 years was killed by a woman with a tent peg. Not the army, not the commander who said he wouldn't go, a woman who saw an opportunity and she literally took it. Deborah sang about it afterward. Villagers in Israel would not fight. They held back until I, Deborah, arose, until I arose, a mother in Israel, until I arose, a mother in Israel. Deborah did not arise because she wanted power. She arose because the men around her had gone soft, because the waiting had gone on long enough, because 20 years of oppression was enough, because somebody had to blow the trumpet and nobody else was doing it. I'm a mother in Michigan, and I rise as high as I can to be as loud as I can. And not because I think I'm Deborah, not because the principle is exactly the same. When the men in the room won't lead, when the comfortable church won't speak, when the voters stay home and their pastors soften their sermons and the silence gets louder than the truth, someone has to get up and blow the trumpet. And maybe now that's you. Maybe you've been waiting for someone else to go first, waiting to see if it's safe, waiting to see if the cost comes down. It's not going to come down. I'm never going to stop getting attacked in Messenger. I'm never going to stop getting attacked in comments. It's going to cost you something. It always has cost something. Your silence going to cost you something. Deborah's authority didn't make her popular with everyone. Joel's tent peg didn't make her comfortable. Barak lost the honor because he required a woman to go first. Don't be like him. Arise, speak, vote, engage, show up for your children, for your community, for the country that your silence is slowly helping to lose. If you have never given your life to Christ, I want to talk to you. Because everything I just told you about division and silence and the machine and the manufactured outrage, none of it changes without a foundation underneath it that the machine can't reach. And that foundation is Christ. Not a political movement, not a podcast, not a candidate, not a person who is alive, who is soft, who this. It is to Jesus. He is not soft. He flipped the tables and he spoke the truth to power without apology. And he didn't soften a single word to make everybody comfortable. He's the reason I can say the things I say and not be destroyed by the response. He is my anchor. He is how I can wake up and feel worthy for this life and the beautiful gift I have in being a mother to my kids and my marriage and my family and my home and the beauty in the world. He is the reason I can stand here and I can read these without just becoming hopeless. He is the truth behind the truth, and he's available to you right now, exactly as you are, with everything exactly as messy as it currently is. I say, come to him and then get up. United we stand. The devil is counting on us to stay divided, and I want you to prove him wrong. God, faith, fire, country. I love you guys. I'll see you next week.